I started sailing Snipes in the summer of 1951. I crewed for Harold Gilreath in a race that actually he later became Snipe Commodore. I got to truthfully say I didn't learn a doggone thing from Harold. Harold was really great and I didn't know what was going on. And it's the only time I ever sailed with him. He became a very good friend of mine in later years. But he had moved away after that. He graduated from college that year, and so I never got to sail with him again. So I had to go learn it from others. But we had Owen Duffy of Chattanooga was the Snipe Commodore the year that I started sailing. And I learned a lot from Owen. He even lent me sails. And what I really learned was time in the boat, practice, practice, practice. In the end, I ended up making these friends when I was very young that are friends of mine today. There's one guy here who I have known now for 60 years and another one who I have known for 59 years. And we associate with one another, we correspond quite frequently and have been friends for over half a century. The summer of 1953, I attended the National Championships in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. That's not correct. It was Ardmore, Oklahoma. And the first fiberglass boat was on display. And we were invited to throw rocks at it and show how tough fiberglass was. So I actually got to see that boat. And I later found out that Harold Gilreath had actually drawn up the scantlings for it and helped Lofland build the boat. Anybody could see that it was the future. I know from talking to others that there were problems with people feeling that well, at the time they thought fiberglass would never supplant wood, but it was easier for me to see because it was so much easier to build a fiberglass boat than it was a wooden boat. I've got to say that there's a certain amount of character has developed in the different builders we have worldwide. You can tell the difference between a Pearson boat and a Okamura or a Jibe Tech. You can spot the boats, and I think they've all got there's a certain character to those boats too. It may not be the same as wooden boats, but they got character nonetheless, I think. It's always tough to make a friend have to cut something, whether it's a sail or a mast. And I did have to have a friend of mine had to cut a quarter of an inch, lousy little quarter of an inch off a mast one time. That kind of call is very, very difficult. And at a world championship, a sailor from a northern European country had a sail, and I made him, because he was he was so far outside of our tolerances on the sail that I made him cut the leech of that sail probably 3/4 of an inch off the leech of the sail up top. And that was hard to do because the guy's practiced, he has practiced and he's done all his tuning and everything for the regatta, and it messes him up. And the thing you never want to do is to impact the competition, and yet sometimes you have to, and that's always difficult. Oftentimes it has been obituaries of dear friends. People I've known. Harold Gilreath is one. Buzz and Marge Lamb, who were as close to me as anyone ever has been. So many of the people that I've known, but I've been around a long time and have just been asked to write and have tried to put on paper my feelings about what those people meant to me and meant to this class. It's important for our class to never forget its history, because it's one of the things that separates us from the new classes that spring up. Anyone who follows the sport knows that there are new classes springing up all around us, and we have an honored history in this class, and it's an old history, and we forget it at our peril. One of the most fun times I ever had sailing the Snipe was after a race was called off in Jacksonville, Florida years ago. I was crewing, this was in 1970, about 3 or so, at a national championship, and a storm blew through, and they blew the race off. And we had to sail about 2 or 3 miles back to the club. I don't know how far it was, but we were on a fire hose plane all the way, just hooping and hollering. It was so doggone much fun. It was like skiing. It was just so much fun. And of course, it's always fun to have won. Winning is never fun. You're always under such pressure when you're winning a race that the enjoyment comes afterward. But that fire hose plane, I think about that often. The water almost knocking you out of the boat. It was coming. We were being beat by it so much. Gosh, it was fun.